The characteristics of the offense is one of those concepts which a lot of successful World of Tanks players and teams intuitively know, but without actually consciously knowing them. It does, however, make them successful. ADP 3-90 Offense and Defense is a surprisingly basic manual. It has diagrams like "this is a flank," definitions of battalions, that sort of thing. Like the other manuals are referenced in this series, it's publicly available, feel free to go take a look at it. Anyway, if you hop on down to Chapter 3, you'll see the 4 characteristics of the offense. Well, I should say 4 characteristics of successful offense, but we'll assume that they're aiming for success. They are concentration, audacity, tempo, and surprise. The reason that you might want to pay attention to this higher level in World of Tanks is that it gives you a second chance to win. If you imagine 2 teams which we know start out with roughly equal forces and they both have more or less similar plans, the heavies go here, TDs go there, and so on and so forth, well, then you end up just butting heads, and the final victory comes down to who can control their individual tank better, combined with a bit of RNG. If you get the higher level right, even if your individual tank skills aren't as good, you can still give yourself an overall advantage to overcome this. If your individual tank skills are good, then you're just reinforcing your abilities. Concentration. Concentration is the simplest one to understand. Quote, "Concentration is massing the effects of combat power in time and space at the decisive point to achieve a single purpose," unquote. For the simpler practical effect, look at my video on concentration of fire. Note, you don't need to concentrate your force to concentrate fire, but the bottom line is that wherever your team attacks, the more heavily outnumbered the enemy are, the damage you take is reduced by a square function, all other things being equal. Audacity. Audacity is defined as a willingness to take bold risks. You may have heard the term high risk, high reward. Of course, taking risk for the sake of it is daft. Risks must be calculated against their potential benefits. Sometimes you will fall flat on your face. Sometimes you will reap huge rewards. World of Tanks allows you the luxury of trying risky ploys a few times to get a sense of just how reliable those rewards are. Tempo. Tempo is simple enough as well, defined as the relative speed and rhythm of military operations over time with respect to the enemy. The real-world result is to overwhelm the enemy faster than they can react. You will have seen this effect in game. 1 second you look at the minimap and everything seems to be going well, then all of a sudden you find that there's a swarm of enemy on your base faster than your team could plug the gap. This seems to be the hardest of the 4 to affect in World of Tanks, mainly because most players just don't seem to understand it. Finally, surprise. Attack at a time or place or in a manner for which the enemy forces did not prepare or expect. Given that there aren't all that many ways to surprise the opposition on a World of Tanks map defined by small borders and only a few avenues of approach, success here generally closely relates to audacity. Normally you need to have all 4 of these characteristics to be successful. The next time you see a particularly thorough victory or loss, have a look and assess what happened with these 4 characteristics in mind, and you'll almost certainly see that they were all used. To show how plans can fail with the absence of just one of the 4 characteristics, 2 common scenarios. The first is the Lakeville Valley push. It normally has audaciousness and surprise. The ploy has such a poor reputation that it is considered folly to try. Usually, when it happens, players realize the value of concentration, but they fail miserably at tempo. The push over the ridge is invariably slow and piecemeal, allowing the defenders ample time to reverse course and establish a strong defense by the time the folks are out of the valley. The manual says, "Commanders never permit enemy forces to recover from the shock of an initial assault." The few times such a plan is successful, it is invariably because when the mass goes over the top, it doesn't take the foot off the accelerator until it gets to the far corner. The other plan, all but lost to the mists of time and remembered fondly only by those with at least 6 years of World of Tanks experience under their belt, is the Malinovka 2-minute field rush. Those who know and use it are well aware of the tempo requirement, and it also meets with audaciousness and surprise criteria. Good luck getting enough of your teammates to partake to actually make it successful though. The one time in a blue moon that the team gets on board and does a concentrated move, the attempt is normally a resounding success. These are of course more extreme examples to make the point. The principles can apply to any battle, and even at the individual tank level, but just temper your expectations if you're on your own. But fortune favors the bold. I'm Nicholas Moran, the Chieftain, and I'll talk to you on the next one.